The sole frontier research outpost was usually a very quiet place. It sat alone on a small, dusty moon that orbited a pale blue gas giant, far from any busy space routes. Most days, the human crew simply ran experiments, checked sensors, and reported data back to Earth. Nothing exciting ever happened. Nothing unusual ever arrived. So, when an elegant silver shuttle from the Xyrathi Alliance appeared on the horizon, slicing across the darkness like a shining blade, every member of the outpost paused. Humans had met the Xyrathi only a few years earlier, and although relations were peaceful, both sides still knew little about each other. The visit was meant to be a simple diplomatic tour, formal, polite, and short. Commander Ria Ortiz stood at the airlock, straightening her uniform as the shuttle docked. Behind her stood the rest of the welcome team: 2 security officers, a translator, and Mateo Alvarez, the station's chef, who had come mostly out of curiosity. None of them knew why a Xyrathi ship had been sent to such a small station. When the airlock opened with a soft hiss, 3 tall figures stepped inside. The Xyrathi looked almost human, but with soft luminous skin that shifted between pale blue and lavender depending on the light. Their eyes were large, reflective, and gentle. They moved with calm grace, like dancers trained from birth. The tallest alien, wearing a silver crest on his chest, greeted the humans first. "We thank you for receiving us," he said in smooth, carefully practiced English. "You're welcome here," Commander Ortiz replied warmly. "We're honored by your visit." Everything seemed perfectly formal until the youngest Xyrathi peeked out from behind the group. She looked smaller, younger, and her glow was brighter, almost pearly. Her eyes were wide with open curiosity, and she kept turning her head to study every detail of the room. The control panels, the lights, even the humans themselves. She wore a simple crystal band around her wrist that sparkled each time she moved. "This is Leora," the senior Xyrathi explained, noticing the human's surprise. "She is an apprentice envoy. We hope to give her experience with peaceful interspecies contact." Leora bowed politely. But then her attention shifted again, drawn to the smell drifting from somewhere deeper inside the station. Mateo, the chef, noticed this. He had come straight from the kitchen, where he had been preparing dinner for the crew. He still smelled faintly of warm bread and herbs. Leora's eyes seemed to follow the scent like a magnet. Commander Ortiz began leading the diplomats down the corridor toward the meeting room, explaining the station's facilities and mission. The senior envoys listened carefully, nodding at each detail. But after only a few steps, they realized Leora was no longer beside them. Somehow, the young alien had quietly slipped away. Leora moved softly, almost floating, following the warm, buttery smell like a trail. She had never encountered anything like it before. The Xyrathi ate nutrient spheres efficient, balanced, and entirely without flavor. They kept the body alive, but they brought no joy. Her people considered food simply a requirement, not an experience. But the air here, this human outpost, smelled alive. She traced the scent to a door that slid open with a gentle chime. Inside was a wide, bright room with tables, chairs, and a large cooking area. Pots simmered, machines hummed, and the air was filled with heat and fragrance. Every surface seemed designed for some kind of creative action. She stepped quietly inside, unaware she had broken protocol. Mateo returned to the dining hall half a minute later, carrying a tray of freshly baked bread. When he saw Leora standing there, staring at everything with wonder, he froze. Hello there," he said gently. Leora turned with a bright, curious smile. "Is this where the humans prepare consumed matter?" she asked innocently. Mateo laughed. "We call it food." "And yes, this is the kitchen." Her eyes shimmered with interest. "Your ship smells warm." "That would be the bread." She tilted her head. "Bread?" He lifted a piece from the tray. "Want to try a little? It's soft. And safe, I promise." Leora hesitated. Xyrathi did not usually eat foreign food. But her curiosity, bright, powerful, and warm, won over her caution. "If your people do not mind," she said. Mateo handed her a small piece, just enough for a first taste. Leora brought it close to her face. studying the gentle steam that rose from it. The smell was comforting, almost soothing. Slowly, she placed the piece on her tongue. Her entire body lit up with a delicate glow. The humans often joked that Xyrathi glowed with emotion, but Matteo had never seen anything like this. Leora's light shifted rapidly, pale, pink, gold, soft green, each color dancing across her skin like ripples on water. Her eyes widened in pure amazement. She searched for the right words. This is warm joy. Matteo smiled. Most people just call it good. Leora held the remaining piece delicately, almost reverently. It has texture, and softness, and something that continues after the taste has gone. She pressed a hand over her chest, stunned. Humans created this? Yes. And you do this every day? Pretty much. She looked at him as if he had just revealed a hidden magic. A few minutes later, Commander Ortiz and the Xyrathi envoys arrived, alert and worried to find Leora still dazzled in the dining hall. Leora, the senior envoy exclaimed, you must not wander off without permission. I apologize, she said sincerely. But the humans, they create joy from matter. She gestured at the bread as if it were a holy artifact. She just had her first taste of human food, Matteo explained gently. The senior envoy blinked. Our nutrient spheres contain every required substance. Matteo chuckled. Food here is more than required substances. Commander Ortiz watched the scene unfold with growing interest. She could tell something unusual and promising was happening. Leora continued in an excited, glowing rush. Humans take simple ingredients, change them with heat and time, and create feelings. Happiness, comfort, warmth. She held out the tiny piece of bread she had saved. May I learn more? The senior envoy looked uneasy. Leora, our visit is diplomatic. Human cuisine is not part of the official program. Commander Ortiz stepped forward. If she wishes, she may observe. Cooking is part of our culture. She would be welcome. Quote, the envoy hesitated, caught between rules and the bright, hopeful expression on Leora's face. Finally, he sighed softly. Very well, for a short time. Leora's glow brightened with gentle gold pure delight. Matteo invited the group into the kitchen area. Leora almost hovered behind him, studying every movement as if she were watching a fascinating science experiment. What is this device? She asked, pointing at the oven. It traps heat to bake things. And this? She asked, touching a whisk. A tool for mixing. And this? She asked, pointing to a bowl of dough. Potential, Matteo said with a grin. Her glow shifted again, curiosity shining like starlight. Matteo broke off a small, safe piece of fruit and offered it to her next. Try this. When she tasted it, her eyes sparkled. It is bright, like light, but edible. Matteo laughed again. That's one way to describe it. The senior envoy watched silently, surprised by the depth of Leora's reaction. He whispered to Commander Ortiz, she has not expressed this much enthusiasm in a very long time. Ortiz smiled. Humans tend to have that effect. Leora turned back to Matteo. Do all humans know how to make joy food? Not all, he admitted. But many try. It's part of our life. It must be wonderful, she whispered. To live in a world where nourishment includes happiness. Matteo paused. He had never thought of food that way, not so simply and beautifully. But hearing it from someone who had never experienced flavor before made him see his work in a new light. By the time Leora finally rejoined the official tour, her mind buzzed with new ideas, and her glow remained gently warm. The envoys continued through the corridors, but she barely heard their explanations. Her thoughts kept returning to the soft bread, the sweet fruit, and the strange human who made happiness with his hands. The humans believed the visit would be routine, but Leora knew it already. This was the beginning of something much bigger. For herself, for her people. The next morning on the Sol Frontier Research Outpost began like any other day, but something felt different. The humans could not name it, but there was a new lightness in the air, an excited kind of energy. Like the station itself was waiting for something special to happen. And it was. Leora woke early in her guest room aboard the Zirathi shuttle. She sat up slowly, letting her skin glow softly in the dim cabin light. She did not normally dream, but last night she had experienced something very close. Every time she drifted into rest, the warm smell of bread returned to her thoughts, followed by the bright sweetness of human fruit. She had never tasted joy before yesterday. She had never known that food could hold meaning or memory. Now, she wanted to know everything. As the Zirathi prepared for the day's formal meetings, Leora listened politely, but her mind kept drifting back to the kitchen, the warm ovens, the glowing lights, and the human who had welcomed her so kindly. She wondered what new discoveries waited for her there. When the diplomatic group left the shuttle, Leora kept her steps calm and respectful, but her glow revealed her excitement. The other envoys noticed. The senior envoy, Aradel, observed her with gentle concern. "You seem eager, Leora." "Yes," she admitted honestly. "Yesterday, I learned something new. Something important." Aradel sighed softly. "I hope it does not distract you from your training." She lowered her head. "I will be careful." But even as she said it, her thoughts were already drifting toward the kitchen. Meanwhile, Mateo Alvarez wiped down the counters in preparation for breakfast. He hummed to himself while checking ingredients, double-checking safety notes, and setting up a simple workspace. He didn't know whether Leora would return today, but something inside him hoped she would. He had never taught cooking to an alien before. He had never explained flavor to someone who had no concept of it. It made him see his own everyday work as something new and exciting again. At exactly 8 in the morning, the dining hall doors slid open, and there she was. Leora stepped inside quietly but with unmistakable excitement. Her glow shimmered like morning sunlight. Mateo couldn't help but smile. "Good morning," he said warmly. "Good morning," she replied, almost singing the words. "I asked permission to observe your work today." "The envoys allowed it, with limits." Mateo nodded. "Of course." She approached the counter, her eyes scanning every tool with careful interest. "What are you making today?" Breakfast," he said, "but I kept it simple. I thought simple might help you learn better." She nodded gratefully. "Yes, simple is good. Everything yesterday was overwhelming, but in a good way." He laughed. "I understand. Cooking is full of new things. Maybe too many at once if you're not used to it." She leaned in closer, curious. "Humans do this every day?" "Every day," he confirmed. "Multiple times, actually." Leora's glow brightened again. "It must bring much happiness." Mateo shrugged modestly. "We don't always think about it. But yes, it can." He began by showing her ingredients: milk, eggs, fruit, oats, spices. He explained how humans often combine different textures and tastes to make meals that were warm, comforting, or refreshing. Leora listened as if every word was a key to some new universe. "So," he continued, holding up a bowl of oatmeal, "this is something many humans eat for breakfast. It's warm and simple. Want to smell it?" She leaned close, inhaling gently. Her glow softened with pleasure. "It is gentle, like resting in sunlight. And that's a beautiful way to describe oatmeal," he said, honestly impressed. He handed her a small spoon. "Try a tiny bit." She tasted it carefully. Her glow shifted into warm gold. "It feels calm," she whispered, like a quiet thought. Mateo's heart warmed at her interpretation. Humans had used oatmeal for energy, comfort, and health, but Leora had given it a poetic meaning he had never considered. Next, he let her try small bites of fresh fruit-safe pieces, tested in advance. Leora took each taste seriously, studying the sensation as if she were examining a rare scientific anomaly. "This one is sweet," she said, tasting a strawberry. "It dances, like bouncing light." "This one is cool," she said after biting into a grape. "Like touching morning fog." "Ah, this one is bright," she said, trying a slice of orange. "Like a star waking up." Mateo blinked, taken aback. "You describe food better than some chefs I know." Leora tilted her head. I only say what it feels like. And that's what makes it special. As they worked, other humans entered the dining hall for breakfast. At first, they paused in confusion at the sight of a glowing alien tasting spoonfuls of oatmeal, but soon they smiled, waved hello, and acted as if this strange moment were completely normal. Humans had a way of adapting quickly, sometimes without even noticing it. Some crew members even began offering Leora snacks from their trays, as long as they were safe. She accepted each with gratitude, curious about every new flavor. Do humans always share food? She asked. Pretty often, Matteo said. It's one of the ways we connect with people. Leora touched her wristband thoughtfully. My people do not share meals. We eat alone, efficiently. That sounds a little lonely. A geologist commented gently from across the table. Leora blinked. Lonely? I never thought about it. It is simply the way things are. But do you like the human way? Matteo asked. Leora looked around at the humans, laughing, talking, eating together. Yes, she said softly. It feels like belonging. Later in the morning, Matteo decided to teach her something more interactive. He placed a bowl of flour on the counter. Then another bowl, with water, sugar, and yeast. We're going to make dough, he announced. Leora's glow flickered with anticipation. The substance you use to create the warm bread? Exactly. She leaned closer as he mixed ingredients. When the flour began to form a sticky mass, she stared with surprise. It is changing, she whispered. Yeah, Matteo said. Humans mix things to create something new, something different from the parts. She placed her hand near the bowl, not touching, just observing. The smell is soft and hopeful. Hopeful? Matteo asked, amused. Yes, like it wants to become something. He grinned. Dough would love you. When he began kneading it, she watched the movement closely. Is this required? Yep. It strengthens the dough. She hesitated, then asked carefully, May I try? Matteo washed her hands with a gentle sanitizer designed for alien visitors, then placed a small piece of dough in front of her. Leora touched it with cautious curiosity. It is alive. Well, kind of, Matteo said. Yeast is alive. Dough grows. Her glow brightened in awe. She pressed gently, feeling the texture change. It pushes back. It responds. That means it's good dough, Matteo said proudly. Leora smiled a soft, glowing smile. Humans do not just eat. They create. They transform. They shape joy from the simplest matter. Matteo looked at her thoughtfully. You know, I never thought of it like that. Until you said it. While Leora explored cooking, the senior Zyrathi envoys attended meetings with Commander Ortiz and the science team. They discussed trade routes, research exchanges, and future collaborations. The conversations were polite, structured, and predictable. But Aradel could not ignore the quiet change in the young envoy's behavior. She walked with lighter steps, listened with clearer attention, and even smiled more often. A soft golden hue followed her wherever she went. During lunch break, he finally asked, Leora, this human cooking, is it affecting your judgment? She thought for a long moment. It is opening my judgment, she said honestly. I am learning new ways of thinking. Aradel frowned. Through food? Yes, she said, glowing slightly. Humans put emotion in their food. Creativity. Connection. When I taste it, I feel possibilities. Possibilities. Possibilities, Aradel sighed. He was a traditionalist, loyal to the calm, controlled ways of the Zyrathi. Yet he saw no harm in Leora's happiness. He had watched her grow up since childhood. She had always been intelligent but quiet, cautious, almost afraid to show enthusiasm. Now she had discovered something that made her shine. Very well, he said softly. Continue your learning. But remember our purpose. I will, she promised. That afternoon, Leora returned to the kitchen to help Matteo prepare bread rolls for dinner. She shaped the dough carefully, mimicking his movements. Together they placed the rolls onto a tray, and she observed them with fascinated delight. "When this dough becomes bread," she asked, "will it still hold the feeling you put into it?" Matteo paused at the question. He thought back to what his grandmother used to say, long before he became a chef. "Yeah," he said. Leora looked at the dough with gentle wonder. "Then I hope it carries my joy too." The oven hummed softly as the bread began to bake. Warm fragrance filled the air again, and Leora closed her eyes, feeling the smell wrap around her like a gentle blanket. "This," she whispered, "is the most beautiful science I have ever known." And Matteo realized something then. This simple human kitchen, on a quiet outpost far from home, had become a bridge between worlds. Built not with politics or technology, the third day of the Zyrathi visit began with a soft sunrise across the gas giant below. The sky outside the outpost glowed pale orange, washing the metal halls in calm morning light. But inside the station, the atmosphere felt heavier, as if a quiet tension had settled overnight. The humans sensed it first. Commander Ortiz noticed the way the Zyrathi envoys walked more rigid, more formal, less open than before. They spoke politely, but there was a stiffness in their voices. Even their glowing skin seemed dimmer. Something was wrong, but Leora did not seem aware of the tension. She walked beside her fellow envoys with her usual gentle glow, but each time they passed the dining hall, her light brightened with subtle excitement. She had been thinking about the bread rolls she had helped shape yesterday, and the way the humans smiled when she described flavors. It had made her feel seen, understood, and strangely connected. She hoped to learn more that day. She hoped to show the humans something too, but the senior envoys had other concerns. When the morning meeting began, Aradel requested a private discussion with Commander Ortiz. The two stood in a small observation room overlooking the moon's dusty landscape. "There is something we must address," Aradel began carefully. Ortiz remained calm. "Of course. What concerns you?" Aradel's expression was gentle but troubled. "Leora. She is becoming influenced." "In a bad way?" Ortiz asked. Aradel hesitated. "In an unexpected way. She shows emotions stronger than usual. She expresses curiosity without restraint. She glows more than she ever has." Ortiz tried not to smile. "She's learning. That's what happens when a person discovers something new. But Zyrathi culture values calm and control," Aradel said softly. "Leora has always been quiet, focused, steady. Now she speaks of human cooking as if it is some grand revelation. It is a big discovery for her," Ortiz replied gently. "She's tasting joy for the first time." Aradel sighed. "Yes, that is exactly what worries the council." Ortiz blinked. "The council? We received a communication this morning," Aradel admitted. "They fear Leora's enthusiasm may weaken her diplomatic balance. They request her immediate return home." Ortiz stiffened. "You're recalling her?" "Yes," he said regretfully. "Before this human influence grows stronger." Ortiz felt a knot tighten in her chest. This was not just a cultural concern, this was a misunderstanding. The Zyrathi feared emotion, while humanity embraced it. "Have you told her yet?" Ortiz asked. "No," Aradel replied. "I fear it will dim her spirit." Ortiz exhaled slowly. "At least allow her one more day to say goodbye to finish what she's learning." Quote, Aradel looked uncertain. "I am not sure." "Please," Ortiz said quietly, "let her have this. It may help her understand herself better, not just us." Aradel considered this for a long moment, then nodded. "One day," he agreed. Leora did not know any of this. She happily walked to the kitchen that morning, unaware of the decision hanging over her future. When she entered, she found Matteo already preparing ingredients for lunch. He turned with a bright smile. "Good morning, Leora." Her glow brightened warmly. "Good morning. I have been looking forward to learning more today." Matteo chuckled. "I had a feeling you'd say that. Ready to explore something new?" "Yes," she said eagerly. "What will we make?" "Something simple," he said, "because I want you to help create it." Her glow flickered with delight. "I would be honored." They began with vegetables, safe ones tested for Xyrathi biology. Matteo showed her how to chop them gently, how to combine shapes and colors to make food look alive and inviting. "It is like painting," Leora said softly. "But you can taste it." "Exactly," he said with a grin. She repeated his words carefully, as if storing them inside her memory. As they cooked together, Leora noticed something strange. Matteo looked thoughtful, almost worried. His hands moved smoothly, but his eyes carried a quiet concern. "Matteo," she asked gently, "is something troubling you?" He paused. He wanted to tell her everything, but he also did not want to upset her before understanding the whole situation. "I heard something," he said slowly. "Your envoys received a message today. It might affect your visit." Leora's glow dimmed. "Affect? How?" Matteo hesitated. "I'm not sure, but they seem worried." Leora lowered her eyes. "Worried about me? I think so." She grew quiet. Her glow pulsed softly, like a fading star. She had never been a source of concern before. She had always followed rules, always stayed calm, always behaved exactly as expected. Learning about human food had made her feel alive, yet it seemed to unsettle her people. Matteo placed a gentle hand on the counter near her. "Hey, you've done nothing wrong. You're learning. That's something to celebrate." Leora looked up at him. "But my people do not celebrate change. Maybe they will, because of you." Her glow brightened slightly. "Do you really believe that?" "I do," Matteo said with quiet certainty. That was enough to bring back a hint of gold to her skin. Later that afternoon, the crew discovered a new problem, one that had nothing to do with diplomacy. The storage system had glitched. The outpost kept large reserves of ingredients in automated cold units, but a malfunction had caused several compartments to shut down overnight. Many supplies were still safe, but some key ingredients were frozen, solid, or partially spoiled. Matteo frowned at the data panel. "Well, this is a mess." Commander Ortiz joined him, scanning the readout. "We'll need repairs by tomorrow. Until then, supplies will be tight." "Wait, what will we do for dinner?" Matteo asked. Ortiz shrugged. "Improvise?" Leora listened carefully, concern glowing across her skin. "Is this dangerous?" "Not dangerous," Matteo explained. "Just inconvenient. We may not have the things we planned to use." She thought for a moment. "Humans cook with creativity." "Yes, hopefully," Matteo said with a half-laugh. "Then maybe this is not a problem," Leora said softly. "Maybe it is an opportunity." Matteo raised an eyebrow. "For what?" Leora stepped toward the ingredients that remained usable. "To create something new. Something that belongs to both humans and Xyrathi." Ortiz watched with interest. "A hybrid dish?" Leora nodded. "Yes. I have been studying human cooking. I have also studied my people's nutrient spheres. If I try to combine what I have learned, maybe I can make something that honors both cultures." Matteo grinned. "I love that idea. Let's do it." For the next 2 hours, Leora worked beside him, experimenting with textures, shapes, and gentle flavors that she hoped would be safe and pleasant for both species. She added small touches of sweetness inspired by human fruit and balanced them with subtle nutrients familiar to Xyrathi diets. She tasted carefully. The humans observed her reactions with hope. After a long moment, her glow blossomed into a soft rainbow. "It works," she whispered. "It is gentle. It brings calm and joy together." Matteo smiled with pride. "Then you've just made your first dish." Leora stared at it, overwhelmed. "I created something new. Something beautiful," Matteo corrected. But the moment was interrupted when Aradel entered the room. His face held the weight of responsibility. "Leora," he said quietly, "we must speak." Leora turned, sensing the heaviness in his voice. "Is it about the message this morning?" "Yes," he replied. "The council is concerned. They believe your emotions may be clouded by human influence. They request that you return home at once." Leora's glow dimmed to faint silver. "At once?" "Yes," he said gently. "Tonight." Matteo felt his heart sink. Leora froze. her hands trembling slightly over the new dish she had created. "But I only just started to understand. I only just learned how to feel joy. How can I leave now?" Aradel looked pained. "Your safety and balance are important to us. We cannot risk unfamiliar influence." Leora's voice grew soft. "Learning is not danger," but Aradel did not answer. He simply waited. Leora looked at Mateo, her glow faint, like a light fading under a shadow. "Will humans remember me?" Mateo stepped forward. "We won't just remember you. You've changed us too. And whatever happens next, you'll always have a place here." Leora closed her eyes, letting his words steady her. She touched the small dish she had created, lifting it with gentle hands. "Then I will show them," she whispered. "If they see this, maybe they will understand." Mateo nodded. "Then tomorrow, before you leave, we'll give them something they've never tasted before." And in that moment, Leora realized something powerful. Humanity's greatest strength was not technology, or science, or bravery. It was the ability to inspire change, quietly, kindly, without force, and she hoped her people were ready for it. Morning came softly across the Sol Frontier Research Outpost, painting long golden lines across the metal floors. The humans woke early, and even those who usually moved slowly in the mornings felt a strange mix of excitement and sadness. Today was Leora's last day on the station. Word had quietly spread that the Xyrathi Council wanted her to return home, worried that her emotions had grown too strong under human influence. Most crew members didn't fully understand Xyrathi customs, but they understood enough to feel the weight of the situation. Someone discovering joy should never be called a risk. But still, Leora had to go. In the dining hall, Mateo stood beside the stove, preparing ingredients with a seriousness that felt unusual for him. He wasn't humming today. His movements were precise, focused. He wanted this final dish, Leora's dish, to be perfect. Leora walked in quietly, her glow soft and pale. "Good morning," she said. Her voice tried to sound steady, but a gentle tremble showed beneath it. Mateo looked up and smiled warmly. "Good morning, Leora. Ready for your big moment?" "I hope it will help," she said. "I want my people to understand what I learned." "They will," he said confidently. "Because you're not just offering them food, you're offering them a new way to see the world." Her glow brightened slightly. "Do you really think so?" "I do," Mateo said. "And I think it's exactly what they need." Leora looked around the kitchen slowly, as if memorizing the space. The warm lights, the hum of the oven, the smell of spices, the humans moving with relaxed ease. These memories would travel with her long after she left. "I wish I could stay longer," she admitted. "We wish that too," Mateo replied softly. By midday, the Xyrathi Council ship appeared in orbit, larger, sleeker, and far more formal than the little shuttle Leora had arrived in. Its silver hull reflected the sunlight, like a floating shard of glass. The council members stepped into the outpost, tall, calm, and graceful, their expressions neutral. Their glowing skin remained cool and steady, unlike Leora's shifting, emotional colors. Aradel greeted them with a respectful bow. "Honored council members, welcome to the Sol Frontier Outpost." Commander Ortiz followed with a polite nod. The atmosphere felt heavy, too formal compared to the warmth the station had known these past days. One council member spoke. "We have come to retrieve the young envoy. We fear her emotional responses have grown unstable." Leora stepped forward. "My emotions are not unstable. They are alive." The council exchanged uneasy glances. Leora had never spoken so boldly before. Aradel cleared his throat. "Leora has requested to show you something before leaving." The council leader raised an eyebrow. "Something?" "A creation," Leora said. "A dish I made using human techniques and Xyrathi knowledge." The council studied her carefully. Xyrathi had always valued calm logic. Creativity was not forbidden. But it was rare, especially creativity fueled by feeling. "Very well," the leader said. "We will observe." Leora's glow pulsed softly, nervous, hopeful, determined. The dining hall was set neatly when they entered. A long table stood at the center, decorated with subtle lights and clean white plates. In the middle sat Leora's creation, small glowing spheres of layered texture and color, each one crafted with delicate care. They resembled Xyrathi nutrient spheres, but their shapes were softer, more inviting, with gentle folds inspired by human pastries. Matteo waited beside them, offering a respectful nod. Leora designed everything herself. The council approached the display with slow, deliberate steps. One member spoke. "You have mixed foreign elements with Xyrathi forms?" "Yes," Leora said. "The dish contains nutrients familiar to us, but shaped with human methods." Humans do not only feed the body, they feed the heart. The council exchanged whispers. Such emotional language was unusual for their kind. "This is your creation," the leader said. "What does it represent?" Leora lifted her chin and breathed deeply. Her glow shimmered with soft gold. "It represents who I have become," she said. "Before, I knew only calm, only balance, only what was required. But here, humans showed me something new." Her light brightened gently. "I learned that joy is not danger. Curiosity is not weakness. Feeling is not failure. Humans find meaning in simple things: warm bread, shared meals, the act of creating. And when I tasted their food, I felt something I never knew existed." She paused, touching one of the spheres lightly. "Happiness." The council shifted uneasily. Xyrathi rarely used that word. "I am still myself," Leora continued. "But I am more than before. And I want to share what I learned. I want you to taste what I tasted. Not the same flavor, but the idea of it." Aradel looked at her with gentle, proud eyes. Matteo smiled quietly, letting her speak for herself. Slowly, the council members picked up one sphere each. They examined them closely. The surface shimmered softly, pulsing with a faint light that somehow felt warm even though it was not hot. Then, together, they tasted it. The reaction was subtle, but powerful. Xyrathi did not glow dramatically the way Leora did. Their emotions were small ripples, soft changes in color, hardly visible unless someone watched closely. But Matteo saw it, Commander Ortiz saw it, and Leora saw it most of all. Their skin shifted gently, carefully from icy blue to pale lavender, a sign of curiosity. Then a faint gold shimmer appeared, like sunlight slipping through a window. It was emotion. Pure, soft, controlled emotion. But emotion nonetheless. One council member whispered, "It is calming." Another said, "And pleasant." The leader of the council closed his eyes, tasting slowly. When he opened them, there was a new softness in his gaze. "This dish," he said, "is unlike anything we have known." Leora bowed her head. "Thank you." "You made this?" he asked. "Yes." "You shaped this from human knowledge?" "Yes." "And it brings feeling without chaos?" "Yes," she whispered. "It brings harmony with joy." The leader turned to Aradel. "Your apprentice has grown far beyond expectation." Aradel nodded proudly. "She has." The leader then faced Leora. "You feared we would reject your change?" "Yes," she said quietly. "I feared my people would not understand." "You misunderstood our caution," the leader replied gently. "We do not fear emotion. We fear imbalance. But what you have shown us is balance shaped by new experience. Not loss. Not confusion. Growth." Leora's glow flared with soft happiness. The council leader looked at Commander Ortiz. "Humanity's influence has not harmed her. It has taught her." Ortiz smiled. "That's what we hoped for." The leader placed a hand over his chest in a traditional Xyrathi gesture. "Then perhaps our alliance can grow stronger. Not only through knowledge, but through culture." Matteo beamed. "And through food." The council leader nodded, surprisingly warm. "Yes. Through food." After the formal conclusion, Leora approached Matteo privately. Her glow shimmered gently, full of emotion she didn't hide anymore. "You helped me find myself," she said. "I will never forget that." "You found yourself," Matteo corrected. I just gave you the ingredients." She laughed softly, her first true laugh. It sounded like a bell made of starlight. "I will return," she said. "And next time, I will bring new ideas, new questions, maybe even new recipes." Matteo grinned. "I'll save you a place in the kitchen." She placed her glowing hand over her heart. "And I will save a place in mine." Aradel approached then. "Leora, it is time." She nodded. But this time, she did not look sad. She looked ready. As she walked toward the shuttle, the humans watched her go, not with grief, but with pride. She had come as a curious visitor, and was leaving as something more, a bridge between two worlds. Before stepping inside, Leora turned back one last time. Her glow brightened into warm, radiant gold, brighter than any human had ever seen from a Zyrathi. "Thank you," she said, "for teaching me joy." Matteo waved. Ortiz saluted. The crew smiled. The shuttle doors closed gently. The engines hummed, and the ship rose into the sky, carrying Leora home, carrying her new understanding with her, carrying the first spark of a cultural change that began with nothing more than bread, kindness, and curiosity. Humanity, once again, had surprised the galaxy, not with strength, not with power, but with warmth, creativity, and heart. And Leora couldn't wait to return for more.